My. Something that I really need has arrived. See this pressure cooker here? I use it like I cook fresh rice all the time. And like most Asians have a rice cooker, but I don't like cooking with aluminum. And so I like to use a stainless steel pressure cooker. And I've had this for a long time, but I had one of these things and it got all corroded and everything, and it disappeared during the move. I think Jesus eliminated it because he knew somebody was going to order me a new one, and it fits perfectly. It's from Brandy. So Brandy, thank you. See right there? Thank you, Brandy. So I eliminated it from the Amazon wish list now that I know that I have one. And this is great. See, because another thing that I need for this is I put this on the Amazon wish list. This is cracked. Do you see right there where there's a crack? Oops. I don't know if you can see. There's the crack. You see the crack? Okay. I can still cook with it. The problem is that the when it starts cooking, it doesn't seal well, and so all the rice water leaks down the side, and I have to clean my stove real good. So it would be nice to get a new I think they call it like sealing gasket, but I put it on the Amazon wish list. But what I really needed was this, because now I can put the right amount of water in there. That is such a blessing. Thank you. I don't know why it disappeared. Like it got lost during the move. Another thing that got lost during the move was a queen comforter that I had, but then I don't really have room for a queen comforter in here. And so that's a blessing. Thank you so much. I prefer to have my windows open so I don't run the AC and the heat during the day usually. And this time of the year it's rather nippy here. So I'm wearing my sweater indoors, and that helps me. I still have the beautiful ring that Jesus bought for Brent. Now I find it interesting that Jesus bought this. Because I actually think Jesus is living in my apartment right now. Hi, Jesus, I bet you're here. You say, what? I'm not. You might say, how's that possible? He lives in heaven. I'm not sure how he's doing this. You know, you got to remember, we are dealing with an 11-dimensional being. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure how he's doing this. And I want to thank the person who got me the bookshelf too. I don't know who it was because they didn't let me know. If they had a note in the box, there was no note in the box, so they were anonymous. But whoever you are, thank you, because that has been a real help. Let me see if I can show you. There it is. Yeah, that's a real godsend. So thank you. Let's get back over here now. All right. So, look at can you see the beautiful view? Let me see if I can angle it out. Oh, it's not really showing. Oh, well. I've shown it on a previous video, though. So, I wanted to make this to thank my... You might say, why do you have a welcome President Trump? I bought that in 2016 when Trump was running for president. And I decided to keep it because he's one of my supporters. You know, so that's why. I'm actually the real president. Like I said, everything out there is fake news. You might say, you were going to go into you say, if Jesus is living in your apartment and the Gail shield is transforming into a throbbing penis, that means he's going to make love to you. Not really. He doesn't make love three-dimensionally. Yeah, I've been explaining this to my Patreon supporters. Jesus does not make love the way humans make love. I mean, think about this. His bride is the church, okay? Yeah, it's not going to be me. Though I am part of the bride. I'm his favorite in the bride, but I'm trying to get the lighting here. I'm still learning how to use my plays. I'm his favorite in the bride, but his bride is the church. So, yeah, so you might say, how in the world does he make love to millions of people that are in his bride? That's what I mean. He doesn't make love three-dimensionally. It's 11-dimensional. And you would have to study like string theory, Michio Kaku's string theory, and by the way, Michio Kaku's in my cabinet, to really understand the 11th dimension. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you check out my post, where I made a post where I talk about Jesus as a lover, you see Satan is the reason Lucifer rebelled and why Jesus and God had to kick him out of heaven is that he was BFF with Jesus for millions of years. And he assumed wrongly that this meant that he would be able to consummate his relationship with Jesus with sex. I think he was expecting some sort of maybe 6 or higher dimensional sex, because he knew that Jesus, being a deity, did not make love the way we humans think of sex. But Jesus said, no, I'm not interested in being your lover. And that really insulted Satan, or he was called Lucifer back then. He was a very hot-looking angel. And like I said, check the link underneath this video. He was a very hot-looking angel, and just couldn't understand why Jesus wouldn't want to have sex with him. He still doesn't understand it. And he's really insulted that he's been replaced with the human race. Yeah. You might say, well, not every human's going to make love to him. No, the ones that go to hell obviously are not part of his bride, so they're not going to be making love to him. You say 11-dimensional lovemaking? How does that work? It's really hard to explain. Study the 11th dimension. I've been trying to explain this to my Patreon supporters because they find this interesting. It's until I understood that he was an 11-dimensional being, he wouldn't live with me. I think he's living with me now. You may say, well, we should be able to see him. No, he's camera shy. He will not be filmed. But I think he's here. And that was one of the reasons for the Gail Commandments 2.0, because my apartment is kind of like what the tabernacle was to Israel. The conditions had to, I'm still wearing those beautiful earrings that Brent got me. The conditions had to be right for God the Father to dwell among his people, Israel. And they started breaking the rules that he laid out, and he eventually got to the point where they got kicked out of their land because they went into idol worship and all sorts of horrible things. God and Jesus actually created their creation in order to have fellowship with them, in order to make love to them. And they make love with them 11-dimensionally. Right now, the only ones I believe who are capable of 11-dimensional lovemaking are the deities. That would be Jesus, God the Father, or the Holy Spirit. So, yeah, Jesus makes love. You might say, is he making love to you? He probably is. He considers me like dating his bride. And that's not really sex like the way we perceive it. It's 11-dimensional. And Jesus, we actually had a kind of like a group sex experience between me, Rule 13, Zach Knight, and Brent Spiner. And even though I've canceled the marriage list, Brent Spiner was willing to let Rule 13 and Zach Knight in on a kind of a group sexual experience, brain to brain, that would, how do I say this? Where we were actually making love to our spouse, but the other person was making love to their spouse and yet we were in the higher dimensions, we were kind of commingling. It was kind of like a form of the 11th dimension. And Jesus, I did ask Jesus about how he feels about polygamy. Jesus said that that marriage is beyond sex in the millennium. And it didn't make sense to me at the time that he said it. I said, beyond sex? What does that mean? He meant the higher dimensions. When you get into 11-dimensional lovemaking, then it's kind of like a commingling of all those who honor true love in the universe. And you have like an orgasm that encompasses the higher dimensions. Higher dimensional lovemaking, the orgasm there is much more awesome than with 3-dimensional lovemaking. We're all actually higher dimensional, but we cannot perceive the higher dimensions right now because God won't allow it. But Jesus, when he looks at us, he doesn't see us 3-dimensionally. He sees us 11-dimensionally, which means, like, remember Angelina Ballerina, how hot she looked? Well, when Jesus looked at her, she didn't look so hot because he didn't see her 3D. He saw her 11-dimensionally. The 11th dimension actually illuminates the parts of our heart and our soul that reveal who we are, like how loving we are, how forgiving, how tolerant, how vast, how generous. And if those parts of us are active and beautiful, then our 11th dimensional appearance is beautiful. And this explains why Jesus said that in the millennial reign, which is future, I am a pre-tribulation dispensational believer in rightly dividing the Bible, which is pretty much, my beliefs are probably closest to Dallas Theological Seminary. And my husband actually is earning his PhD at Dallas Theological Seminary, Brent Spiner. So, but I find it very interesting. This is a very complicated subject, and it's hard to, I've been discussing it with my Patreon supporters. But basically, in a nutshell, if anybody approaches you claiming to be Jesus and says they want to have sex with you, that it isn't Jesus. Yeah. Especially if the lovemaking is not 11-dimensional. You can just count on it, okay? And Jesus knows I understand this about him now, so that's why he's probably living with me in the higher dimensions right here. He calls this the heart of my home, this place where I dwell. Because 11-dimensionally, this is the heart of my 11-dimensional existence. This apartment probably extends all the way up to the third heaven, or the heaven way out there where Jesus dwells. So he's probably commingling between there in heaven, where he's at the right hand of God the Father, and here on earth in this apartment. Yeah. But to make my apartment compatible with this commingling, he had to give me Gail Commandments 2.0. So as long as I do those Gail Commandments 2.0, he will be living here. I do believe that. And because it's 11-dimensional, I don't see him. And maybe because it's 11-dimensional, he needs a lot of space to live here too, so that's why he doesn't want all this clutter. 11-dimensional is really, really hard to explain, okay? Just go to my website and check it out. So you might say, is he making love? He's kind of like dating his bride through me, because I could tell he was really excited about living here with me. But it would be a mistake. I can guarantee you, if somebody claimed to be Jesus and said they wanted to make love to me, that would be Satan. He doesn't make love. First of all, I think he's saving himself for his bride. And he's really picky about this. So he could be, you might say, if he's saving himself, why is his penis throbbing? Because he's excited about the possibility of making love to his bride, the church. He's dating her through me. I'm his favorite in the bride. And he may be, and you know how guys are when they're dating a girl and they love her, or, you know, like their fiance, they have dreams about making love to her. So he might be doing that, I mean. But he's not thinking about making love to me. It's his bride. So don't get the two confused. And he's an 11-dimensional lover. So like if he has an 11-dimensional orgasm, it's like 11-dimensional. It would like encompass the entire universe. It makes like the 3D orgasm that humans experience with vaginal, penile type sex seem like tiddlywinks in comparison. I mean, Jesus invented sex. God, you think they don't know how to make it good? So you might say, okay, so what does he care about living in your apartment for? Because he's getting close to intimacy with his bride, and I'm about to sneeze. Satan doesn't like what I'm talking about, because Satan wants to be the bride of Jesus. Satan's gay. So he doesn't like this. And he's been trying to convince Jesus that humans are incapable of true love, that Jesus is mentally ill for believing that we're capable of true love, that he can't deal with reality. I've been talking about this with my Patreon supporters, so yeah, so it's just, but I honor true love, and Jesus is using that as an argument back at Satan. So yeah, basically, Jesus is dreaming about making love to his bride, so that's why he's excited about having his headquarters here. He's dating his future wife through me. That's what he's doing. And having dreams about making love to her. It's going to be 11-dimensional. So during the 1,000-year reign, when he's having his honeymoon with his church, the bride, which is the church, he'll be having 11-dimensional lovemaking with all the bride, which would be all the humans that encompass his bride. And Satan is so jealous. Satan saying, why can't I and my fallen angels be the recipient of your love? And Jesus said, no, you don't honor true love. I can't do that, Satan. And that's why Satan rebelled, because Jesus rejected him as a lover. You know, Satan could be admitted back to heaven if he could just accept the fact that he can only be an angel, but he was the top angel. He was a cherubim. He was the one who reflected God's glory, but he doesn't want to reflect God's glory. He wants to reflect his own glory. That's the problem with Satan. And he said, I refuse to just be a mere angel. I deserve to be the bride of Christ. So, that's what's going on with Satan. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for this. Yeah, I think Jesus is here. Hi, Jesus. I bet you're here. He always accompanies me on my walks. I notice whenever I do the Gail commandments, he always accompanies me. But anyways, so I'm kind of getting back into the way I used to be. I still have to work on my budget, and I was studying the area to see where the Asian grocers are in this town, because there's some items I need to get that I cannot get at Walmart or wherever I shop. Even Publix doesn't carry it. Yeah, they have both of those stores here. They've got Kroger's, they've got Whole Foods, which I probably won't be shopping at too often, because I try to go to the cheaper places. Anyways, thank you so much. I make a lot of rice, and I use this, and that is a godsend. Thank you. So now it doesn't matter that I lost my topper here, which I think Jesus got rid of, because I got a brand new one. Thank you. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, I noticed in the video I made yesterday, I didn't clarify about why Jesus would want to live in my apartment. It's because he's dating his bride through me. It's kind of like he's holding her hand, he's kissing her, he's hugging her 11-dimensionally. You say, how does that work? When Jesus makes love, he's a total giver. So the lovemaking is experienced by his bride through the blessings that he bestows on her, financial, emotional, and health-wise. Yeah. You might say, what about the sex? Mike, like I said, I haven't experienced 11-dimensional lovemaking. I don't think our mortal bodies can handle it. But in the millennium, I will be experiencing it. in my immortal resurrection body, which I will have in the millennial reign. And I will be getting Jesus' semen in the millennium. He said so. Me and Brent, both of us. And when he told me this in 2012, I thought that meant I'd be making love to him. And he corrected me on that. He said, no, I will not be making love to you. He said, your husband, Brent Spiner, will be making love to you using my semen, and he can alternate. Like one testicle will have Jesus' semen and another will have Brent's semen, and he can even mix them. And Jesus said it was pretty freaking cool. So you might say, well, why is he putting a throbbing penis for a Gail shield? Because he's excited about dating his bride. That's what that throbbing penis means, folks. You see, he's having sex with you now. I would say it's more like, it's not me. It's like he's dating his bride through me. So I will experience the orgasm by blessings, financial blessings, emotional blessings, physical health blessings. Because Jesus is a total giver. And he's thrilled by making his bride happy and meeting her needs. That's how he does his orgasm. You might say there's no emotions involved. The emotional part of the orgasm will probably be the actual sex. And I don't think I will be experiencing that till the millennium. He's not really having sex with me. Not even 11-dimensionally. He's kind of like dating me. Dating me, or kind of like dating his bride, because I'm part of the bride. And he described that he wanted to get my home ready for, he said, me as your husband, because you are part of my bride, the church. That's how he described it. So he doesn't mind me interpreting it this way, as long as I clearly understand that he will not be making 3-dimensional sex with me, ever. Not now or ever. He doesn't do that. That isn't how he makes love. You say, well, then why does he even bother to have a penis? I'm not sure about that, because I actually think when he does make love, he does have perfect abs. He has an average penis. I think the center of the lovemaking will emanate from his perfect abs, because Zach was kind of upset that Jesus doesn't have a perfect penis like Zach Knight does. I think with 11-dimensional lovemaking, the center of the lovemaking comes from the heart or the chest area. So that's why Jesus has perfect abs. The orgasm will be experienced 11-dimensionally, expanding out into the universe in all the dimensions. It's going to make like the 3D orgasm that humans experience seem like tiddlywinks. I don't think our mortal bodies can handle it. And I do think emotions will be involved, and I think what we will experience is absolute peace and a feeling of loving and forgiving and just absolute true love, just emanating our entire 11-dimensional existence in a form of ecstasy. That's what I think it will be like. Yeah. I don't think our bodies can handle it right now. It's going to be awesome. But anyways, thank you for that. And I wanted to explain what I meant by why Jesus wants to live in my apartment. He's dating his bride through me. But make no mistake about it. He does not make love to humans 3-dimensionally. He's an 11-dimensional lover, which is why he emphasized 11 commandments. Yeah. In order to purify my home, which is like the tabernacle where he will dwell, I need to be doing the Gail commandments faithfully. All 11 of the original ones and all 11 of the second part. Because he's an 11-dimensional being. Okay. Anyways, I just wanted to thank my Patreon supporter and explain how Jesus operates as an 11-dimensional being. Go check my website. I have some interesting insights there. And you might say, you must feel, that must be boring, that he won't have sex with you. I wouldn't want to insult him. It's not boring. Believe me, 11-dimensional sex, when it happens, will not be boring. It will make the 3-dimensional sex we have seem boring in comparison. No, I love Jesus. Because, let me tell you, I forgot to mention this, but when me and Zach and Rule 13 and Brent had our kind of group sex, I got a little bit of a foretaste of the 11-dimensional lovemaking that Jesus will do to his bride, and I did sense his spirit during that experience. He is an absolutely selfless being. I sensed his presence. It was kind of like he was overseeing our whole lovemaking experience, and he is obsessed with meeting the needs of his lover during the sexual experience. He cannot get an orgasm. In other words, when he has sex with his bride, the church, all he cares about is bringing her maximum pleasure, joy, and peace. I sensed a being who didn't have an ounce of selfishness in any of the moves he made with his bride. Just totally unselfish. Not an ounce of selfishness. A very humble, loving, vast, giving presence. Totally obsessed with bringing pleasure to his bride. Not caring at all. In other words, he cannot have pleasure unless he brings his bride pleasure. That's what I sensed. He was totally other-focused, totally focused on meeting the needs of his bride during the sexual experience and bringing her maximum joy, and I sensed an overwhelming peace and tranquility in the lovemaking experience. It was the most, it was like I was sensing the heart of a being that was totally dead to his needs and totally absorbed with the needs of his lover. I've never experienced that with any other being. Jesus is absolutely awesome. He is the epitome of unselfishness. He doesn't have an alloy of self in what he feels. Totally, absolutely unselfish. And I don't even know if I can use words to describe what I sensed. It made me realize that not an alloy of self in anything he does. He's absolutely unselfish. Anyways, thank you so much for that. I use this a lot. This is a real godsend. And Jesus did say he would use my followers to meet my needs, and he, as usual, Jesus is faithful.